Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing? It's been a while since I've been in front of this camera to say hello to all of you beautiful people. And the most beautiful of them all, obviously, is sitting with me today,
Mm,
Tracy. Just look at that beautiful smile.
thank you.
Um, if you guys are new around here and you've never been on this channel before, my name is Mariana, and this is Mexico Relocation Guide, where we teach you how to move to Mexico the right way. I emphasize on the right way because there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of good information, but there's also a lot of bad information. So, we hope to be your one stop resource to a lot of moving to Mexico, at least the very most important basics of moving to Mexico. Of course, everyone who actually ends up moving to Mexico will have to learn some other things along the way just because your lifestyle, your perspective is going to be unique to you. But today's live stream is obviously very unique to Tracy. We're going to be talking all about her move to San Miguel de Allende. If you don't know anything about San Miguel de Allende, it is a gorgeous, gorgeous town in the highlands of Mexico. And it is very picturesque. It's unique. It has a lot of charm. Some people call it, the basically like the little European village in Mexico because it is very quaint. It has all these like cobblestone streets, and it just feels like a very authentic old town Mexico. But it has all the modern amenities that you would want, like grocery stores that are beautiful, you know, rentals in all sizes and all prices and all budgets, restaurants from very high end to very low end. So you can find it all in San Miguel de Allende. Plus, there's so much art.
Mm.
So if you guys are interested in learning more about San Miguel de Allende and just, Mexico in general, I think today's live stream will be really good for you guys to tune into. My guest today, I want to introduce her because she really is an inspirational woman. She's an entrepreneur, she's a writer, a speaker, and amongst many of her projects, some of which are very big, she just launched her book on Amazon titled Special Delivery. So at the end of this live stream and throughout the video, we're going to be talking about Tracy's journey, but don't worry, I'm going to link off to her Amazon book and then her social media links in the description of this live stream. So if you're catching the replay, go ahead and check that out on the description. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It's almost Christmas, almost Feliz Navidad for everybody. And if you guys notice, I may sound a little bit different. I'm fighting a little bit of a cold. So throughout this live stream, I'm going to try my hardest not to sneeze. I just took some medication right now to try to help me out. But if I do have to, I'm just going to mute myself so I don't gross anybody out. So, Tracy, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I've been looking forward to this like since we spoke last week. So I'm excited to talk about San Miguel.
Yeah, I'm excited for everybody to hear your story. Do you want to say hi to some of our people, some of our audience?
Yeah, hey, I see my my girl D. Hey, Deborah. Oh, I love that because it's not like I don't think it's Deborah, but I always like that how it's the
Yeah.
pronunciation. Hi, Lean. Hello, everyone. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm excited to share my story. Oh, my permanent to a beautiful city. It's magical. I don't know how else to describe it. I just cannot like it gives me like goosebumps when I just think about how much I love this place.
Yeah. And you've had quite a journey because she actually didn't end up in San Miguel first. She ended up in Ciudad de Mexico, Mexico City. And
Mhm.
we're going to talk about why she didn't stay there, but this wasn't her first stop in Mexico.
No, I think I've hit all of the major scouting locations that people say you should go to in the country, and San Miguel was the final stop. And I kind of say I hate that it was the last stop, but I'm also glad because I don't need to go anywhere else.
Things happen for a reason, right? You
Yeah,
needed to look at all the other options before you decided, okay, this feels right.
right, absolutely.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that. I think a lot of people, certainly people that follow our channel or maybe are in our newsletter, they think, oh, I definitely want to live on the beach. Like the beach is like when I think of Mexico, I think of living on the beach. And then they end up getting to the beach and they're like, well, it's a little too hot for me, or it might be a little too touristy. Um, and anyway, so they ended up going to, maybe Mexico City or maybe San Miguel de Allende or maybe Querétaro.
Hmm.
So, all right, let's get started. Uh, in case you guys are just now joining us, just keep in mind this will be available for a replay. So I will make sure that that's available on our YouTube channel. So, Tracy, why don't you start off by telling us just a little bit about you, your background?
My background, I recently sold my company. I was in the childbirth field for 23 years since I was 24. I'm 48 now, so I just sold my company. It was the largest Black and BIPOC doula training company in the world, and we had amassed some major partnerships, such as America's number one employee, which is Walmart. And so I
Wow.
sold it, and I'm excited that has, that was one of my checklist accomplishments for 2023, along with moving to Mexico. And I just released my book, Special Delivery, and it talks about my life story and the journey of creating my company. And I'm a mom of three. My oldest is 30, and she's still in the States. And my son, he's 23. Yeah, 23, and he's still in the States. And then our baby girl is 19, and she's here in Mexico with us.
You look so young, it's hard for me to believe that you have a
I
30-year-old son.
You should see me at night, Mariana. I'm like moisturizing and doing all of this.
It's hard. I'm sure other people agree. Like you look amazing.
I try.
So why Mexico? Like why was that part of your list?
That's such a good question. I'm originally from California. And so I grew up with Mexico literally being down the street from me. I'm from Northern California, I'm from the Bay Area. And when everyone started going to Mexico, I'm like, I had never been before. And I grew up just like everybody did. You don't want to go there. Tijuana is bad. You don't want to cross the border, all of the propaganda. And so when everyone started going to Mexico, I'm like, what is the big deal about this country? And so May of last year, I decided to gift myself a Mother's Day present to Tulum because that was at that particular time the tail end of it being really, really popular to go there. And I took
Mhm.
myself and our youngest daughter. And by day 4 of 5, I said, I'm moving to Mexico. And my daughter looked at me and she was like, You're moving to Mexico, Mom? And I was like, I'm moving to Mexico. Oh, why you second guess me? And I think 5 weeks later, I was back in the country and we stayed 8 days and we toured all of Quintana Roo. And then that was 4th of July weekend, and September 11th, we stayed here for 6 weeks and toured other parts of the country. And I mean, I love Mexican food. I love Mexican culture. And when I look back over the span of my life, Mexicans have been a part of my entire life. So it's by design that I'm here. I've always
Yeah,
loved Mexican culture, Mexican people.
it
Mhm.
was meant to be.
It was so meant to be.
I mean, you weren't looking at other Latin American countries like you. Mexico was plan A.
So in between that was Costa Rica. We went to Puerto Viejo for our honeymoon, and I love Costa Rica. I absolutely love Costa Rica, but just because of the import tax and the cuisine is not as it's not Mexican food. So I
You can
traveled.
say it. It's not as good.
It's not as good. I love Costa Rica. I love all of the
I love
nature.
Costa Rica too.
But the beautiful thing about Mexico is you can get all of those things in this country. It really has the climate for anybody. So you can find it here.
Yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of people do like that about Mexico, that it is so diverse in its topography, right? Like you have mountains, you have rainforest, you have jungle, you have beaches, city, small, big, large, extra large, everything in between. Um
Absolutely.
so when you first, recently when you first, okay, this when you decided I'm moving, I'm getting my residency, you first landed in Mexico City, and that's actually how we initially connected.
Mhm.
Was because you reached out to me and you told me, I'm having a really hard time finding a long-term rental. I don't know if it's just me, if it's the market, any advice. So maybe share some of that experience with people who are watching and might be considering Mexico City.
Mexico City is an amazing city. Like as far as cities go, it still remains my favorite city, but it's a different process when you are vacationing versus scouting versus now you're trying to settle your life. So your requirements, become different. As I said, we came here. It was myself, my spouse, our 19-year-old daughter, and our little dog Brownie. And so our requirements, we weren't just a single person or just a couple. We needed more space. We needed certain level of accommodations. And so when we started seeking that out, and I reached out to you looking for a realtor, and even like that was our first experience with a realtor was like, it wasn't what we hoped it would be. And then we found a realtor who would try to support us from there. And Mariana, when I tell you, we looked at, like, seemed like dozens of places, but were told that we got three different places, like in the midst of all of that. And every time it was the multiple deposits, the multiple rents up front. And we were asked for like 6 months of bank statements, 7 references, a prenup agreement. Were we legally married? Because we are a same-sex couple. So it's like, were you legally married? We were being asked for things.
Overkill.
And still to this day, nobody has heard about it. And after being told that you have gotten certain places 3 different times, by the third time, I was like, we're leaving here. And we spent nearly $10,000 within 2 months on Airbnbs alone because we were being told we had gotten certain places, and then the owners would change the stipulations.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane that you're right. I've never heard of them asking for whether you guys are legally married. It's none of the landlords. I mean, what is it to them? Like, how is that relevant to the lease, right?
Mhm.
So that's crazy. And I do think that it stems from a couple of things. Mexico City has just gotten so popular with foreigners, and so they've had an influx like never before. Mexico City has always had foreigners. Like it by far, it's where the highest concentration of foreigners live. But they're usually coming in with like maquiladoras or like um, companies that like hire them in masses, right? Usually Asian companies or Brazilian companies, things like that, that hire them in masses. So they have their own relocation experts. They help them get apartments. But not so much this digital nomad that just comes in on their own. And so, unfortunately, you may have gotten lumped into this idea that like you're just here for 3 6 months and you might end up not staying long term. Because what was happening was a lot of digital nomads in Mexico City were, coming for 3 6 months and then signing a lease for a year and not actually meeting the year. They would just leave. So unfortunately, I know it gives all foreigners a bad reputation. And then there might have been some like additional bias there too, right? Like we
It's
talked
so
about.
funny. Yeah, I posted something in the group, in the private group that you have, and it was one member who said, "I think you have the one combination that warrants discrimination," and it was because and when he put it like that, it was like a light bulb went off. And he said,
Yeah.
being Black, being a same-sex female couple in a predominantly Catholic society where, men are leaders majority of the time. And I was like, wow. And as hard as it was to read, and I know he didn't mean any offense by it, that's when the light bulb went off in my head. And it was that night actually that I just was like, we're heading to Puerto Vallarta or we're going to San Miguel. We had been to Puerto Vallarta before and the hurricane was coming and I didn't want to get back on another plane. So I was like, okay, we'll just call our driver who picked us up from the airport in Mexico City. And he was like, yeah, I'll take you guys to San Miguel. So literally 3 days later, we were headed to San Miguel.
Yeah. And that's crazy because I mean, they lost a great opportunity for a great tenant. But yeah, there definitely probably was some prejudice there. No doubt about it.
Mhm.
Um, And so I think it's important for some people to know that, yeah, even though Mexico is very welcoming, I think to a lot of foreigners, there are some things that don't get talked about, and maybe some of that is race. Some of that is, your religion, or your lifestyle choices, or those kinds of things. So that's why sometimes these expat communities are very popular too, because they're so used to dealing with people from all walks of life that um, it's easier for you to integrate. It just is.
Mhm.
So now that you've actually been living, how long have you been in San Miguel now?
2 months. It
Okay.
feels like longer, I think, because it feels like home. Like it is home. So it feels like longer, but 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, since October
Well,
15th.
yeah, 2 months is enough time for you to at least get like a small feel, right, for if this is the place you want to be in.
Right.
Um, but now that you have been in San Miguel for a little while now, what was that like? What was it like for you to find a rental in comparison to Mexico City?
I think we had the worst experience to turn around to have the absolute best experience. So things work out how they're supposed to work out. And San Miguel ended up being the place that we didn't know we needed. If I can just put it in a pretty like package and bow, it is the place that we didn't know we needed. It's the pace of life, it's the art, it's the slower way of living. It is still great food. It's the history behind the place, and you can see the history in the architecture,
Yeah.
which I think Mexico, period, does a great job of. But we have such a great concentration of it here in San Miguel. But also, if you have been to Tlaquepaque, which is outside of Guadalajara, and I love Tlaquepaque, it's like Tlaquepaque threw up. This is what San Miguel looks like. It's just colorful and artsy and beautiful, and the people here are so nice. The natives here are so welcoming and so nice. And getting our rental, it was we got our rental really in one day of like really starting to look,
Wow. Yeah.
and they didn't, this was just our experience, but they didn't ask us for anything but the deposit, and I showed like our residency cards because we have our temporary residency. And it really has been just so, it's honestly like they hugged us when we came. They were so
Yeah.
happy to see us here.
Yeah. Such a contrast, right? Such a
Such a contrast.
stark contrast. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, what are some of your, other than, obviously this like experience of a long-term rental? Let's assume that somebody stayed in an Airbnb for the rest of their time. But other than that, like, what are some, if you could summarize two or three things that you really see a difference in Mexico City versus San Miguel de Allende, what would those be?
um, there's no traffic.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
um, the quality of life, it's like your nervous system appreciates it because it's not the energy of go go go, it's the energy of let's take our time and let's stop and smell the roses, and you can't help but be here and constantly look up because it's so beautiful. So it makes you stop and appreciate what you're looking at, and it's a stark contrast. It's honestly more pretty than Mexico City.
Yeah, because everywhere you turn, it's beautiful. I mean, Mexico
Mhm,
City has some gorgeous areas too, but
mhm.
next to it might be a not so pretty area, or a set of like um, industrial areas that are not really nice. I mean, it's a huge city, right? So there's
Right.
going to be a huge mix.
But also, like here in Mexico City, it's all horizontal living, primarily horizontal
Hmm.
living, apartment buildings. And if you desire a little bit more diversity in your accommodations, like a townhouse or a house, so we have a standalone, not a standalone, we have a ranch style house with a rooftop. So you have options versus having to be confined to apartments. There are apartments here as well, but you can find a mix of housing accommodations here.
Which is huge for a dog. I mean,
Mhm.
unless you're used to that because maybe you live in a big city or you lived in a high rise before. But yeah, in Mexico City, that's very true what you say. It's very rare to. It's not rare. They do exist. There's a lot of houses that have patios or backyards. They're very expensive.
Mhm.
So that's the difference. In San Miguel de Allende, for the same price of that you would find a two-bedroom apartment, you might be able to get a house that has a front patio or a backyard, which is huge, especially if you have dogs.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Any other any other major dislikes or maybe surprising likes about San Miguel de Allende that you might want to share?
A surprising like was the actual sunset. Like I hadn't seen such a beautiful sunset since being in Puerto Vallarta, and the sunsets here are just breathtaking. So if you can get to a place or get on your rooftop or go to a rooftop restaurant and enjoy the sunset, that is why San Miguel is. We have a lot of rooftops specific for that reason. And but how cold it is, like we're nestled in a bowl. So once the sun sets, now you're freezing. So we were just,
Yeah.
laughing about that. These concrete walls and the lack of insulation within the home, you make sure you have to layer up. So um it's the high but the low.
Yeah, totally. It is considered desert, right? So it's like the high
Mhm,
desert.
mhm,
Um, you definitely want some space heaters, and not every house has a mini split, which sometimes has a heating element, sometimes not. And not every house has a chimney, so you definitely want to invest in some space heaters. I have one on my feet right now, so
and
I
it's one in
totally get it.
every room, including the bathrooms.
Yeah, yeah,
That's how real it is. But also, I want to say the nature. I love plants, and when you're in CDMX, you get just spoiled with the beautiful greenery and the parks that are there. Just Parque España, Parque Mexico, like those parks are just astounding when you're in Mexico City. So I was like, I'm not gonna get greenery here in San Miguel. And the moment we were we got into the countryside of San Miguel, I saw the cacti and all of this green. I was like, wow. So that was a beautiful surprise too, because I have plants all over. So it was a nice welcome. And then also the livestock. I love seeing donkeys and horses and
yeah,
ATV life. It's just, it's very common to see a car, an ATV, and a horse on the same street at the same time. And then just down the street, there's a donkey or two, and then you go
yeah.
out further, there's horse grazing and there's sheep, and it's just it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, it really is unique. I mean, it really is. But it's modern too. So for anybody who's
Yeah.
listening and thinking like, "Oh, this sounds like ranch life." No, it's very modern too. Like it's just a way of life. There's a lot of ranches around San Miguel de Allende. Which is also kind of nice too that not everything is built so much up because you do get to enjoy those sunsets and
Hmm.
those mountains and more of that landscape. Um, so now let's talk about a little bit about now that you've been there 2 months. Have you met any other foreigners? Have you gone to any of the meetups?
So today I just left a meetup of it was like 30 plus Black women. So San Miguel has a huge Black community here. Black expats, Black immigrants here who are from the States. And one, I think the oldest, like they had been here the longest was '07. And it's just the community is growing. And there's one person who's really been instrumental in helping to bridge that gap. But it's also good to come from a place like, when you come from a place like the United States and you constantly have to live in a hypervigilant state to be able to be Black in a space and no one cares that you're Black. Like no one is following you around a store, or no one is really paying attention to you just because of the color of your skin. You're treated just like everybody else, that's our treatment from the natives here in San Miguel. And honestly, that was like, I mean, I think in the country itself, it was just a welcome. just sigh of relief. But when you start trying to assimilate your life to be in a place to where our 19-year-old daughter can go outside at nighttime and we're not worried about her. And that was really, really important. Safety is just really important. So that is what we experience here.
So it's fair to say that you have felt welcome, not only by the locals, but by other expats who were living there.
Yeah, and I love being able to patronize like the local businesses, like Mexican businesses. Like we have a guy who made our table that we go to. He made our bench. Gabriel, he does a fantastic job. Like the craftsmanship here and the love that they care about the work that they do. So I'm able to put like money back into like local pockets, and that was really like being intentional about that was really important to me.
Yeah, definitely. Because you want to help. You know, you're coming representing a country, right? Whether we like it or not. So you definitely want to, show that you're there to not only enjoy, obviously, all the beautiful things that Mexico has to offer. Some of which, some people, for them, it's low cost of living, the landscapes, the climate. Maybe less of this like bias, right?
Mhm.
But also, you just also want to, support the economy.
Mhm.
We talk about this a lot, and I think sometimes too much. I know I tell people, shop local first before you go to the big box supermarkets. But the big box supermarkets also employ a lot of locals, so I'm not like knocking them down or anything like that.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm glad that you're doing that too. That you're thinking that way. That you want to help stimulate the economy in whichever way you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Mhm.
So speaking of like, these meetups and all the people that you met today, I know it's still a little soon for me to really, grasp how you feel about this, but just in the 2 months that you've been in San Miguel, and for the people that are watching that might be wondering, like, do you feel like it's authentically Mexico, or do you feel like it's an American colony in Mexico?
It depends on where you go. It
Yeah.
really depends on where you go. If you're focused on being in Central, then absolutely it is going to feel like it's more centered towards tourism. Yeah. But if you go to what we like to call our neck of the woods, and I don't even really know what neighborhood it is, but it's all local vendors, it's all local people. The mercado is local. Like it's and when we went there the first time when we had first got here, we were like, "Oh, I don't know if we should be here." And when I tell you those people are not paying us any attention, and we looked around like they are just so ignoring us. They're going about their life. So we kind of chuckled. But then we find ourselves going back to our neck of the woods, and it's extremely local. And so it just depends on where you go in San Miguel. I think again, if you are intentional about where you go, where you shop, where you spend your money. I don't like going to Querétaro, which is like 45 minutes away. It's very busy, very city, a lot of high energy, but the big box stores are there, and you have to make a run there at least once a month for Costco, for Walmart, for those kind of things that you can't get here. If you're furniture shopping, which we are, the furniture in San Miguel is very expensive because
Mhm.
again, it's artsy, it's an artisan town, and they know that. So this is also why we go around Bodega Aurora. We go to our neck of the woods and we feel, the best fish place is right there on that strip that we just love eating and patronizing. So again, it just depends on where you are.
Yeah, perfectly said. I couldn't have said it better. If you end up going to Centro, you're gonna see, every menu is basically in Spanish and in English. Every boutique store is gonna have like some signage in English and Spanish. They might even take dollars, those kinds of things. But yeah, if you just branch out from the downtown area into the other neighborhoods that surround the downtown, which there's tons of them. San Miguel is not a small town, I don't feel. I mean, there's 150,000 people living there. Um, and so it's not like the smallest town. But if you branch out, yeah, you're going to end up finding, like Tracy said, the local spots, the mercados, the bodega herrera, which is, I'm so happy that you mentioned that, because that's like, that's truly where the Mexicans shop for the best
They
deals.
do. And that's the area. I don't know the name of that colonia. I wish I did, but it doesn't stick to my memory for some reason. But that is our neck of the woods. So I said, "Hey, you want to go to our neck of the woods?" She's like, "Okay, we're going to our neck of the woods," and
Yeah.
we're just it's where we feel really comfortable. And we have a family who makes they make wood pieces for your home, and we patronize them, a family, in particular in that area.
Yeah. And you get to know your neighbors a little bit. It also helps you practice your Spanish more,
Yeah,
quite honestly.
yeah.
So some people are planning on moving to San Miguel de Allende also. So you're going to have a lot of new neighbors soon.
See a lot
Yeah.
of questions about the water.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about the water. How do you I mean, water in Mexico, I don't care where you go, it's not potable. Don't drink it. So what do you do for water?
We have a water guy who delivers our water, and we drink bottled water like everyone else. So, but it's not a big change. People think before you come into the country, like, oh my God, you can't drink the water, but it's so readily available that you drink bottled water. It's not even it's just second nature that's how you drink your water. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
as
there
far as brushing my teeth, I just use the water. I don't swallow it. I didn't swallow it in the States. So,
exactly. Yeah. You also can shower in it, it's fine. You can
mhm,
wash your dishes in it, it's totally fine. Wash your
absolutely.
laundry. It's perfectly
Absolutely.
fine to do those things. Just don't drink it. There are some homes, of course, that are very modern, and then they've installed, reverse osmosis tanks, but it's only as good as the filters that are changed if they're changed regularly, if maintenance is done on them regularly. So those are all things you should ask if you end up buying a house that has one of those systems, or end up renting a house that has one of those systems, to know
Mhm.
what kind of maintenance has been done on it. There is talk, right, that Huatulco has potable water, but I mean, I can tell you, I know a lot of locals that say no, do not drink the water there either. So there are some towns that are trying to make this, right, more of a thing, and maybe look at their neighbors in the north and see what are they doing to treat their water. But simple way of life, like Tracy said, you buy bottled, or there's services that come and deliver bottled water to you on a regular basis.
Mhm.
And you either save their number, send them a quick message on WhatsApp, or you can get on a schedule with them where they just come every week or 2 weeks, or depending on the size of your family.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, water is an important thing, and you're right. I don't think we cover it a lot, and that is a question that we get a lot. Have you
I
seen
want
any houses? I'm
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Have you seen any houses that have some homesteading, or some, you mentioned earlier, like livestock, and have you seen any houses that are in your neighborhood that have chickens, or, more farm animals?
Not in my particular neighborhood, but I was just in Colonia Allende earlier today, and it's just right around Guadiana, and there's chickens just walking the street. But as far as being able to like have chickens, we have a friend here who we made. It's a young guy and his family who have had their home built, and or who are having their home built. They're from Jersey, and it's enough land to put horses on there. And there's a huge equestrian community that I plan to tap into. So if anybody is an equestrian in San Miguel, please reach out to me. And then also there is El Polvo, which is I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it is a restaurant that it's an event space slash restaurant, and they have livestock there, horses, donkeys, and you can go riding there.
Oh, nice. I haven't heard of this. What is it called?
El Polvo, Pavo.
El Pavo?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's a
All right.
beautiful husband and wife team who own it, and they have a wonderful Sunday brunch. We went to a birthday party there this Sunday. This was our second time being there, and they're just a wonderful family. And it's in the cuts. You wouldn't even think it's up there, but it's there, and they have. I think he said 2.5 hectares or 2 hectares, which translates into about 5 acres.
Yeah, it's large then. Um, I'll include it in the comments section when I find it. So people are wondering, how much Spanish do you actually need before you move to San Miguel?
um, you know, you don't need a lot of Spanish because of the 1940s when San Miguel and the influx of American of folks from the States and the GI Bill. Here in San Miguel in particular, you can acclimate into the community well with English, and a lot of locals or natives speak English, so it makes it very easy to get around. But I like real immersive learning when it comes to Spanish. So just being out in the community, asking, that they speak to you in Spanish so you can learn. But sometimes they're trying to learn English too. So it's like,
Yeah.
it depends on again where you are in San Miguel, but you can get around just fine here with limited to no Spanish. But do yourself a favor. I mean, your life will be better, your service will be better, and they're so patient and understanding with you when you say, I'm learning poquito español. Is when you're learning, they're like, okay, and they say we help each other. Like we go a pharmacia that's like 5 minutes from us, and Marcella is the pharmacy technician there, and she's like, you teach me English, I teach you Spanish.
Yeah, it's a win-win for both of
It
you.
is. It is.
That's also the thing that a lot of people that have recently moved, or they're a year or two in, that they reflect and look back, or maybe they come back to the US and they think like, wow, I didn't realize how much we don't have community, or we don't like say hi to the same people every day. Like you don't go shopping, or you might go shopping to the same grocery store, but you don't form a connection with the cashier or like the butcher, or these things that in Mexico are just very ingrained in our culture. So have you experienced that?
Like seeing the same faces all the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like our hardware store guy, I was walking down the Ancha and I'm like, hey, Don. Hey. And so he's like, hey, we have a coffee guy at Mercado Sano. He was crossing the street. D, my friend in here, we honked at him. He was like, hey. So it just becomes like they get used to seeing you, and they just become a part, like you said, of your community. And that again was important to me. And I want more Mexican friends. I don't want to just hang out with Black people. I'm in Mexico. Right? So I really
Sure.
want to acclimate. I really want to have, a vast Mexican community and a vast, like folks from like the States or Europe, but a good balance to help, integrate here. So that is the more you get out and walk and meet people, it's inevitable.
Definitely. And it's not just like small talk that you're doing. Some people really will become your friends. Some people will truly become part of your life. So, don't be afraid to, especially if you're a single woman. We get a lot of single women that watch this channel, and are thinking of moving to Mexico. And maybe that's one of the things that concerns them the most, is just how lonely will I be, right? So,
You'll be
yeah,
lonely in the States. You won't be lonely here. Like, when
exactly.
you're lonely here, it's simply because you're not getting out and meeting people, because people are here. And if you are, moving from the States or somewhere else, the people who are here who are foreigners have come for the exact same reason, so there's already a commonality there that you can, start your foundation on as far as communicating. Like we were in one of our favorite, I think it's probably our favorite restaurant, which is Don Felix and his family in Colonial San Rafael. And his family just hugs us and kisses us and embraces us. They feel like family. Like I'll go there just because they have Cafe de Olla. And like,
Mm.
we walk in and he's like, Agua de Jamaica Cafe de Olla. Like he remembers our orders.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just, I don't know, I can just go on and on. I don't know what more else I can say, like how much I'm in love with this place. Like this is home.
That's amazing. How does your partner feel about it?
She loves it. She
Yeah?
was so sold on Mexico City, and I was like, I don't care, whatever we need to do to leave the States, if that is where we need to settle, because I was never sold on Mexico City myself. I was just like, if that's where we have to settle, then fine, so be it. And then the hardship that we experienced there, it really just changed the taste in our mouth. And, because of the experience that we had. And she always said San Miguel was a place that I didn't know that I needed.
That's great. Yeah.
So, and we've had to experience the medical care here. We have a great bilingual doctor here. And like we have a dentist appointment that we've had to reschedule, but like we already have experienced services. And so it makes it extremely easy again to situate your life. We're not on vacation.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very different, right? Like when you're just scouting a place for a week or two, then,
Mhm.
making a life there. So now that you mentioned, like, that she was set on Mexico City and you were like, whatever it takes, right, for us to just make Mexico our
Right.
next move, I'll please you. Were there other cities? You mentioned that you kind of ticked off a lot of other places. So what other cities did you go to and why did you end up, marking those off?
Good question. So we did all of Quintana Roo. I love Playa del Carmen. Playa del Carmen is my home away from home. It is my Mexican home away from home. I am trying to get to Playa and Costa Rica before February because it's cold here in San Miguel
Yeah.
at nighttime. So we did. I don't like Cancun because Cancun is extremely touristy and it reminds me of a mix of Vegas and Miami.
Mm.
So, but Playa was not as busy as that, was smaller, and you can't help but the sea. So we did all of Quintana Roo. Like I said, we did Merida, and that was like for 5 days. And that was an interesting place because for us, it wasn't for people who had grown children and were still relatively young themselves. It was for people who were retired or people who had young family. I mean, kids, young kids. And I was
Yeah.
like, and it was way more spread out than we anticipated. Um, and the infrastructure wasn't good. And I'm glad you mentioned that. The infrastructure here in San Miguel is really good. You wouldn't, for some reason, I didn't think either way about it, but it was surprisingly good. So we did Mexico City for a month, and then we also did Puerto Vallarta, which was extremely touristy.
Hmm.
And not in the good way. So, but
Mm.
it's so pretty. The nature there is just, it again reminds me of Costa Rica and Guadalajara. And I love Guadalajara. I love the natives in Guadalajara. They remind me of the natives here in San Miguel, just how nice and warm and welcoming. I actually like also the fact in Guadalajara, they're not going to speak English to you. You're going to speak Spanish to them.
Yeah.
So they will
Yeah.
stand there and just they'll wait. They're sweet, they're nice, but they will work with you. So I really appreciated that. I also liked the fact that in Guadalajara, Tonalao is a place where you can do massive shopping for your home, from the smallest, utensil to the biggest piece of furniture. So I kind of like,
And they'll
I was like,
deliver it, right? Yeah.
I wish we had a tunnel out here, which is, but whatever. But and in Guadalajara, the climate, it was really dusty. It was extremely hot, and it was just like the air quality was very, very compromised for us.
Yeah.
So when we got to San Miguel, after our, 2 months in Mexico City, when we relocated in August, we came here October 5th. We didn't know if we were going to stay here or not. We didn't know. We just needed a break. We needed a relief. And leaving the United States and decluttering your life and selling your things, that is a huge process. Our home sold within 5 days, all cash
Wow.
offers. So we had to get out of our house very fast. So everything was rushed there, and it was very stressful just leaving. And then to be hit with what we experienced in Mexico City, it just made our level of anxiety and stress worse. So when we came to San Miguel, we were open to the possibility of, but not married to. And then within the first week, we were like, wow,
This is it.
this is it.
Yeah.
And this was the one place that she and I both agreed on.
Okay, which is important, yeah, because you both have to like it, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's good. Is she also having, the same experience acclimating and integrating and making friends and all of that? Are you the outgoing one?
I'm more the outgoing one, but she's out there too. Like we're both there and like experiencing the community and the culture and learning the areas and learning the different colonias because it's more than just La Lajona, San Antonio, Centro, and Guadiana and Guadalupe. There, I mean, there's Las Freilas too, but there's so much more on the outskirts of San Miguel, and I think what people get confused about is they think it's just Central and it's not. And when
Mm.
you branch out, you really get to see, you get to take in the entire beauty of the place.
And then there's even neighborhoods outside of the city, which are in between Querétaro and San Miguel, which, have like a lot of land, or
Yeah.
that's really maybe where you can have, two or three dogs, or a
Mhm.
couple of dogs and some cats. And you just have way more space if you have, more people in your family or kids. Speaking of kids, and I know she's maybe a kid for you at heart always, but how is your 19-year-old doing in San Miguel? Is she finding it like interesting, fun? Is it a little too slow paced for her? What's her experience?
It may be a little too slow paced for her, but she definitely likes it. She likes the fact that there's horseback riding here, so that's on our to do list. Together, we will be at La Gruta, for an event at the end of the month for New Year's Eve. So she's looking forward to that. She loves the food of Mexico. You can find fresh bread and pastries everywhere every day.
Yeah.
So they just sent me on a sweet treat run. So she appreciates things like that and getting out. But I, as the parent, appreciate like her being able to go outside. I have to make her go. I have
Yeah.
to make her go. Teenagers are
Like,
weird
go
people.
explore.
Yeah, but she has had 3 years of Spanish in high school, so she understands it very well, and her pronunciation is excellent. It's just more about the building up the confidence to speak. So we will make her speak, but we're trying to pull her out more and more.
Yeah. Yeah, it might take a little bit longer. Everybody's different, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to take some questions here now from our audience because we have a lot of people asking some very, very good questions. First of all, I want to address, yes, I'm absolutely going to add Tracy's social media handles and social media links on the description of this video. So when we're done with this, trust me, it'll all be there for you guys. And at the end of this, towards the end, I'm going to include the link to her book, to her Amazon listing, so you can go and check that out before the live stream is over. Um, but let's see, let's take some questions here. Yeah, good point. Which we do include in our questions to ask before renting, but somebody made a mention here like before renting, you should request a history of utility bills, and that way you get an idea of what the previous tenant was paying, and also you get an idea if they are on the regular subsidized amount or where they're paying a higher amount because they've overconsumed electricity. Did you do any of that before moving in?
We did. We did. The
That's
funny
good.
thing is, there were some bills left unpaid, so
Oh,
it was fine.
you
Honey
ended up paying
worked it
for them.
out. And the owner is really sweet. So she was just like, just take it off the rent. But we did ask for a history of the utility bill so we could get an understanding. And I watched your video, Mariana, twice, I think. I watched it when it first came out about how to rent, and then when we were really in the thick of things with CDMX, I rewatched it so I knew what questions to ask. And so by the time because we had looked at so many places in Mexico City, by the time we got here, it was just like second nature to us as
That's
far as what to look
good.
out for. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, come prepared. Some people are wondering, what about the mail system? How does mail work for you? So, first of all, have you ordered anything on Amazon?
So that's my mom. Hi, mom.
Okay. Hello, Mom. Thanks for being here.
She'll be here visiting her first time out of the States January 10th. So
How
she'll be, yeah, I'm
exciting!
excited for her. I don't know. Actually, to be honest, the mail in the States was always traumatizing to me. It was, so
Really?
here I'm just like, so we do have virtual mailboxes. The only thing I really care about is the IRS. Like that is really the only thing I'm paying attention to.
Mhm.
But the mail system, she's sent a couple of things. One of the things we got, one of the things we have not received. But honey just mastered Amazon. I'm still struggling with Amazon, and my friends here kind of laugh at me because it was like it's the same thing. So I'm still kind of working it out, but you can get packages here. Amazon was just here like a couple of hours ago. So yeah.
Yeah. So for anybody who's wondering, there are third-party services that will receive your mail for you. Let's assume you're in the United States. I don't know exactly how it works in Canada, but I'm assuming it's exactly the same. There are third parties that will receive your mail for you, scan it, send you an email of what you've received, and if you want them to forward anything to you, they can for a fee. Additional to what your membership already costs. So in Mexico, you have a regular address like you would in the United States. You have a house number, a street, and depending on whether the house is, single standing or if it's an apartment, then you have an apartment number, a city, a neighborhood, and then your postal code, right? Oh, state and then postal code. So very important for you to know that. If you don't know your address, the simplest thing to do is just for you to drop a pin on Google and see, what neighborhood you're in. It's usually after the street. So that if you don't know your neighborhood, I'm sorry, the easiest thing to do is to drop a pin and then just see, what Google tells you your neighborhood is in. But yeah, there's a lot of third party services. Some of them are traveling mailbox. There's postcan
Mhm.
mail. There's a lot of them out there. But anyway, just in case anybody's wondering, you can absolutely get your mail from the United States or Canada to Mexico, or you can just have it scanned if you don't need it. If you don't need the actual physical paper, you can just have it scanned. If you want them to open it, they can open it for you and then just send you PDF copies of what's inside an envelope. As for Amazon, yeah, it is a little tricky because if you're ordering on Amazon Mexico directly without having an Amazon US account, you need to have a Mexican credit card or debit card. But if you have an American Amazon account, you can log into that and then just change your address to Mexico when you're checking out, and then they'll just charge you the import fees
Mhm.
with your US debit or American credit card. So, or Canadian if you're from Canada. So, anyway, just in case anybody's wondering, there is mail. There is also a postal service in Mexico,
Mhm.
but it's very hit or miss.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I didn't
it's
like mail
very
anyway. I was like,
Yeah, it's very hit or miss. I mean, half of the time you'll get your packages, half of the time you won't. There's also DHL, there's FedEx, and then another service that's called Estafeta in case you need to send packages back to the United States or Canada or somewhere else in the world or somewhere else in Mexico. Um, Earthquakes. So, how do you, yeah, did you experience any? Were you in Mexico
no.
City when the last earthquakes happened? Oh, thank
No,
goodness.
we were gone. So
Yeah.
being from again the Bay Area, that's another reason why I was like, I do not want to go to Mexico City, but if that's where you want to go, I'll settle because it reminded me so much of the San Francisco Bay Area. Unfortunately, we had left by the time you guys experienced the earthquakes. But one of our things when we were scouting places were the natural disasters that we took into consideration, and we didn't want to be on we considered the coast, but really it was like, with the hurricanes, we didn't want to experience that. And then the west part of the country, they have hurricanes and earthquakes. And so we knew CDMX had earthquakes. And so every night I would actually like lay my clothes on the foot of the bed just in case there was an earthquake in the middle of the night. So I just can throw on clothes. Fortunately, I did not have to. But here in San Miguel, in Puebla, I know there was a volcano and earthquake, and there was an earthquake recently in Puebla. Oh, we went to Puebla too. I don't think I told you that.
Okay, yeah, no, but
We did. We went to Puebla for a weekend. Such a cute town. I would definitely go back. But here in San Miguel, it was kind of almost there's not that natural disaster. It's kind of, a needle in a haystack in Mexico because of the fault line, but I think we kind of
You're
did pretty good
protected.
with San Miguel. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you're
no,
protected.
yeah, not saying
No
it won't.
hurricanes.
No hurricanes, no
Yeah.
earthquakes.
Yeah. The worst thing you can get is some flooding from, the monsoon, the wet season, or usually June, July, August through October. But yeah, you're in a perfect spot. Querétaro is also one of those sweet spots where a lot
Mhm.
of you have probably heard of Querétaro. It's also one of those cities that's protected from a lot of natural disasters. Somebody's wondering if your daughter's planning on going to community college in
I
Mexico.
want her to. That was another question I think I asked you, Mariana. I was like, what about student visas? So we're kind of, just figuring that part out. She actually wants to go to esthetician school, and Mexico City has a really good esthetician program. So we'll see. We will see. When they're teenagers, it's like we got to push them to do stuff. That's kind of what we're doing with her right now. But in CDMX, there's a really good esthetician school. If she's going to go to esthetician school, I want her to go there and not go back to the States.
Yeah. What do you like about this esthetician school?
It offers everything that she wants to do, and it's just more economical. And she'll be 3 hours away from her mom.
Yeah. She'll definitely get that'll jumpstart her Spanish for sure.
Yeah, I think, and that's her hesitation is like, I don't want to work on somebody's skin and can't speak to them, but I'm sure like there will be somebody in the school faculty that will be bilingual.
Yeah, definitely. Now moving to Mexico, right?
Mhm.
So you ended up flying, I believe.
We did. We flew with 9 suitcases, 3 adults, and a dog.
Okay, so you packed your whole life into 9 suitcases.
Yeah, we have a
Um,
storage unit there back in Atlanta because I lived in Atlanta from 2016 until we moved here. But we have pretty much, bought everything, almost everything.
yeah.
Mhm.
So now that you are settled, you feel like you're going to stay in San Miguel for a little while. What are some things that you wish you would have brought? And what are some things that you brought that you wish you probably would have made some more space in your luggage for other things?
The only thing I regret now is us not having our car. Because we sold our car because we thought we were going to land in CDMX because public transportation and DDs and all of
Yeah.
the things that you don't need a car. Plus, you don't want to drive in Mexico City.
Oh, definitely.
But now that we're here, it's like, oh crap, we need a car. But we have found a way to rent a car, which is relatively simple for us. And then also, we plan on getting an ATV, which is, fairly inexpensive. And you can get around town. You just can't go on the outskirts. And then we have a plethora of drivers to choose from. But again, those kind of things add up. And then we also have like taxis and DDs and Ubers here. So you're not going to be without transportation, but that's the one thing that I wish we would have brought with us.
Yeah.
We would have just driven down instead of flew.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe you'll eventually buy a car, or is
Yeah,
that
we're
kind of
gonna
still
buy
up in the
one.
air?
We're gonna buy one. I think at least my goal is to have an ATV and a Jeep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
And
The
Jeep
ATV.
is here. It's like right up the street here. There's Nissan that's close by, and then there's Jeep that's right up the hill. So we have, we have options. But I also pay attention to the expat groups when people are leaving and selling things, and you can find a car. Friends of ours who have a house here and who also live in the States too. They recently found a car online by some people who are going back to the States.
Yeah. Some people have mentioned that they wish they would have brought more linens. The rental that you found, is it furnished?
No, it's completely unfurnished, but we
Okay.
actually brought sheets with us. We
Okay.
brought sheets and towels, and then Honey went back a couple of months ago and bought some more from TJ. That's one thing I wish we had was TJ Maxx, Ross, and Home Goods. I really miss those three stores because it's so easy and economical to furnish your home with, especially Home Goods and TJ Maxx. So But when she went back, so if you are coming here, you want to bring those things, but you can find them. It just depends on like where you land. But Liverpool for us is just overpriced, so we don't want to spend on that. But you can find it also in Amazon.
Yeah. Or when you go to Querétaro, then go to Suburbia or like Copel
Yeah,
or one of these stores.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely Amazon too. Costco also
yeah.
has good quality sheets and linens and whites and things like that. But I do hear that being like a number one thing that people wish they would have brought with them. So I'm glad that you actually did that yourself.
Yeah, I listened. I paid attention to as much as I could. I paid attention to what people said they wish they would have brought. So we brought at least a set of each of those.
Yeah. Good for you. How's your dog doing? How is he, she?
It's a boy, Brownie. He's
Okay.
6. He's a teacup Pomeranian. He's good. Like he had a ball in Mexico City, like a
Oh, really?
ball. Like he was a star. People would stop us on the street and take pictures of him all the time. And he was just a man about town. Now here in San Miguel, he has really adopted the San Miguel dog life. If you see dogs in San Miguel, they are laying in the street. They are not going to move for you. They don't care
Yeah.
what you're doing. So now
Step
it's
over me.
yeah, step over me. And like it's the funniest thing. Like I think San Miguel has some of the most laziest dogs I've ever seen. It's like they are not about that life. We're gonna chill. So I think Brownie has adopted the San Miguel dog life.
Yeah, he lays around a lot.
He lays around, he sleeps about a good 20 hours a day.
Oh, baby. It's exhausting being a dog.
Right, right.
So just I want to just close with some important things like, what are some surprises that you think people can avoid and what do you think is a realistic timeline for, let's say somebody's watching today, they just heard about San Miguel de Allende, they're going to go and do all their research after this call. What do you think is a reasonable timeline? I know it's different for everybody, but for you, what was your timeline for from when you said, okay, we're moving to Mexico and the research and your residency visa and then selling everything and then actually landing. What was that timeline for like for you?
So my timeline and Honey's timeline were two different things. So my
Okay.
timeline would have been like yesterday, and hers was a year and a half. So we ended up. It was May of 2022. We did all of the scouting trips. What total was 3 scouting trips, and we left of August of 2023. My best piece of advice is take your time, list at least 3 places that you want to visit, do your due diligence, think about your non-negotiables of what you need. And what I've learned honestly in the process is that what you think you need, you actually don't, and what you need, you don't realize that you need. And I think you don't want to suffer from analysis paralysis. I see a lot of people do that. They overanalyze, and honestly, you're not going to be prepared for it. It's really about boots on the ground. And like I said, we thought one place was going to be our home, and it turned out being the place that rejected us the most. And the place that we least suspected ended up being the place that embraced us and that we absolutely adore. Someone asked just really quick about heating our homes. We have electric heaters in every room. And then we also have a gas person who there's a gas company, but we actually have a gas guy who came and he hooked up our gas heater in our living room to the outlet. And so he taught us how, or Honey, how to do it. And she showed me how. I don't touch it, but yeah, we don't have a propane tank at all. I heard about that story too, and that's unfortunate. But I'm also old school. I'm okay with turning on the oven for a little bit and warming, taking the chill out of the house, and then turning it off, making sure all of the gas is off on the stove too. Just doing it that way. And then it's a cool place. It's a cooler climate when it's in the colder months. So we are anticipating January being colder. But also, the beautiful thing about this place is that you can get on a bus for inexpensive and be in somewhere warm and tropical, or a quick plane ride in an hour and a half and be in Puerto Vallarta or Playa del Carmen for relatively inexpensive and quick. So just being open to the possibility of just like you may have to go somewhere else in the colder months.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And a lot of people do, especially, if you can afford it, if it's in your budget, maybe plan to have a budget for those things. It
Yeah.
also helps you explore outside of just this central highland area.
Yeah.
Um, Heating blankets are also
We
huge.
just got one. That was on our Amazon deliveries yesterday.
I was
So,
gonna say electric blankets, get
yeah,
you one.
electric blankets. Yeah. So that was our Amazon delivery yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, just one more question that I think, yeah, it's important, especially if you have pets. Are you finding that dog food is about the same price, same brands,
We
more
don't
expensive?
know. Brownie's spoiled, so he gets his food made and has
Oh, okay.
been for the last I have to say the last 3 or 4 years, we make his food and we made his first grooming appointment today. So he'll go to the groomers for the first time next week here in San Miguel. And that is going to be about 200 pesos for his grooming treatment. Um,
Mhm.
but as far as the food is concerned, like he gets his food made.
That's so nice.
He has the
He's
best
gonna live a very long life.
at our expense.
Yeah, it's okay. They're worth it. Dogs are just amazing, amazing. I'll ask Tracy after this call if she's comfortable sharing her cost of living, and if she is, I'll add it to the description of the video so you guys can have just some things to compare and see, her lifestyle now that you've gotten to know a little bit about what she does on the regular, and she goes to a lot of the mercados, a lot of local shopping, whenever possible, right?
Mhm.
But I want to give you guys, so as I mentioned earlier, she just launched her book. And I think everybody, it's a great book. If you want to buy it, I'm going to include the link in the comments right now.
Yeah.
It is titled Special Delivery Would Make a Great Christmas Present if you want to give it to somebody else or buy it for yourself. And do you want to talk a little bit about your book?
Yeah. Oh, that book. That book was a 2-year journey, writing that book. And I partnered with somebody who helped me get the story made and out there. And I have this was a test copy. My author's copies are on the way. So it's actually my face without this gray strip in here. But it talks about just my life's journey and also just being a teen mom, and then how I just a young mom and all of the life circumstances, and then created a company based on the niche of mitigating the Black maternal death rate in the States and helping to empower Black and BIPOC birthing professionals, because there's such a discrepancy when it comes to pay equity in that field. And there's also a lot of racism that's steeped within obviously Western medicine and the history of that. So I wanted to be the solution after 17 years of being in the field as a professional. So 23 years in total. And that is the evolution of that. So it really speaks to the little girl, the little person who thinks that they can't do something, and through all odds was able to create a space for people that looked like me to have a better, safer experience. And I just think that people who are looking to expand their families, I just think it's a human right. I don't care how you look or love, that's not my concern. I just think it's a human right. And when there are policies and practices and regulations and politics in play, especially when it comes to people with uteruses, and then when you compound race on top of that, it makes it a difficult and also, unfortunately, deathly experience for many. So I talk about that.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
And you also help people, if
Oh,
they want to launch their businesses with
yeah.
a business plan. And I mean, you do so many things.
I do. I just saw somebody asked if I was going to launch another business. So I retired from that field. I sold my company, but I'm really focusing on writing. And then one of my passions is really to help empower entrepreneurs and business owners, helping them strategize their marketing and building their infrastructure so it's solid and it's scalable and you can monetize on things. A lot of times people don't understand monetization when it comes to business infrastructure. So helping them to put those things in place, because I also believe that we are very smart people. And I think we don't always have to rely on someone else to receive an income. I think we can capitalize on the things that we know. And so I help people do that as well.
I am a proven, just your proof of that right here. Because trust me, yeah, this is for sure a venture that you know I've grown into, but yeah, I wouldn't be able to do this outside of having the support of people who are watching us right now. So
Mhm.
um, yeah, I truly believe that, and that is very cool that you are empowering people, showing them how to do it, that it can be done, that they
Mhm.
can monetize it, to believe in themselves, which is huge, especially I think for women, this imposter syndrome, right?
I did a
Um,
video recently on imposter syndrome, and I see it a lot in entrepreneurs and how to combat that. It's and normalizing the conversation around it because we all suffer from that, to some degree or another. And the only difference is people who push through it versus people who, let that hold them back.
Exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
believe in yourself.
Mhm.
So I'm going to include the links to Tracy's social media handles as well as a link to her book. So if you're interested in that, you have a quick and easy way to go buy it. Um, I want to wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. And Tracy, I want to thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing your evening with us. I know you do public speaking for some other people, and she actually is a speaker. So if you're interested in hiring Tracy, she can actually be your public speaker too. But I want to thank you so much because I know you're a busy woman,
Thank
and
you.
I know that our audience really appreciates you sharing your evening with us, and just a couple of laughs and some interesting anecdotes. And I hope it helps anybody who's considering a move to Mexico just get a little bit more of insight into, is
Mhm.
San Miguel de Allende the place that you should research a little bit more.
And I want
Um,
to thank you too, Mariana. Like you've always just been such a wealth of like information and resource. I think the Mexico Relocation Guide is a fantastic place to just that should be in your arsenal. Like if you are moving to Mexico, you need to have the Mexico Relocation Guide because you constantly update it. Your community is responsive, you're responsive, and you really care about the customer experience. So I really appreciate you because you've really been a part of like my quote unquote team since we landed here and I really appreciate that. And thank you so much for just being and doing what you do.
Thank you. Thank you. I think let's end on that high note. So, because I'm just elated now. So, thank you, girl. You are just such a beautiful smile, such a
Thank
beautiful
you.
person. And
Thank
I know we've
you.
only met each other for a short time, but you just have a beautiful soul. And I hope more people get to watch this, share this if you think that this has been interesting. And again, check the description of this video to find out more about Tracy's book and how else you can work with her. So,
Yay.
Feliz Navidad a todos, Feliz Año Nuevo, and I will see you guys in another live stream very soon. Thank you so much, Tracy.
Thanks.